wow, this looks really cool. Then I went to their website thinking, how much is this going to be? And then their website says, yeah, restart soon. And that's been that way for 2 months. So I'm kind of considering them, out of the playing ground. And then I came across on the Envato market, which is a place for people to put up software that they make, something called Azura. It looked pretty good. It has, just a bunch of positions and modules and capabilities. According to them, they have 35 page elements, which I'll explain in a second what that is. It's got awesome icon fonts, and it's responsive with Bootstrap and all these other great capabilities. Unfortunately, it's kind of one of those things that I didn't trust very well because it's on Envato, it's not on JED. So for those who don't know, JED is the Joomla extension directory, and it's the place where you can find basically everything Joomla for adding to your site. So it was a little odd to me that it would only be here. I was like, okay, whatever. And then when I started digging in, people complained about support, and that was not a good sign. And they've been complaining about support for 4 years.
Oh no.
Like if you go back, those little buttons, and it says how fast do we get support? Like I have a question, it's not working. And I'm like, if it's like Zoo, I don't know if you know what Zoo is. It's a content construction kit. It's made by Utheme, I believe. Utheme has one of the reasons I stopped using their templates is they have the worst support I've ever come across of a big, company helping the Joomla community. And so, if it's Zoo-like support, I can't deal with this. I can't wait 2 weeks to get an answer. It's just not doable for me. So that kind of killed it for me. And when you compare the actual features of the system itself, it didn't do a hell of a lot, and it's about the same price as the others. So I was like, yeah, doesn't quite make it for me. So that kills those three. Then I found recently this one called Yi Editor. So initially I thought, well, is this an editor or is this a page builder? Because the name dictates it might be an editor. So it is actually a page builder. They kind of think that they're both a content editor, construction kit, a layout, and a page builder, which is a tall order. Usually when something does everything, it doesn't do any one thing great. So I was very worried about that. And then I look at the release date, and it hasn't been updated in a long time, like 1 3/4, 1.5 years. That's a little scary for me. It looks interesting. When I dug further in, so these are the list of page elements. They call them widgets. And the idea of a drag and drop interface is that you have basically a blank canvas, which is dictated by rows and columns, right? And then you want to do something, like maybe you want to have a timeline, or maybe you want to have a progress bar, or maybe you want to have a little number that counts up to a certain thing, value. Well, instead of having to code that, manually, which is kind of the opposite of easy to use, they give you some built-in little widgets you can drag and drop into place that do certain things. So you get sliders, and you've got hover effects and accordions and buttons and photo gallery and tabs and all that stuff. So they had a decent selection, but not a hell of a lot. It's not that big. And they also were missing the one thing that's kind of important, is that if you need something that's not here in their collection, then how do I just, get that code in? And then their system, there is no, I just need like a PHP block where I can just shove some PHP or some HTML or something like that. So it kind of locks you into only what they have. And that is one of the reasons I kind of said, between that and the lack of support. Then Gridbox, which is made by Boa, or Balbuo, or whatever the name is a promising system. I think it's quite early yet. I mean, I know it's been around for a little bit, but if you look at their actual little trailer and builder, one of the things about this system is it has very few page element widgets. There's like 9 of them. you can't really do much with only 9. So that's why I eliminated them. Plus, Balboa has a very bizarre. I've dealt with them a few times, and they're a little bit weird on their interactions. At least that's what I found. And the pricing on this one, where was that? Yeah, these are the elements they have. Joomla modules: image, text, button, forms, gallery, tab, slideshow, Google Maps, accordion, countdown, icon, smooth scrolling, and scroll to top, and that's it, which isn't that much. It sounds like a lot, but a scroll to top, really? That's like not really much of a feature. And the pricing is free, which is nice, but the free doesn't include plugins, so you can't do anything with it, basically. And then $36.
Right there.
$36 is their quote-unquote light edition, and that's pretty good. That's pretty competitive. And then if you want to spend the $59, you get the theme version, which is the theme and the page builder. Now, I have not tested, to be honest, whether or not the Gridbox is able to work on any theme. One of the things I love about SP or Joomshaper's page builder is that you can actually, whether it's Joomla or whether it's who's the other one? There's so many of these. Basically, any template club that I've come across, Shape5, Rocket Theme. Help me out here. I'm sure.
Joomla has one.
Right. Yeah. All the ones that are out there that are pretty substantial, it works with. Now, I haven't tested Gridbox, but I suspect there's less compatibility. And then you get to the only real serious contender to Joomshaper Page Builder, which is JSN. It's made by Joomla Shine, as you mentioned. Now, this one is only works with 3.x. Page Builder at one point was also supporting 2.5. Not that I would recommend that, but if you have old compatibility issues. They're up to date. As you can see, their last release was 6 days ago, so that was a great sign. They explain the process is very easy. Okay, yeah, they're all easy. But however, you can see there's not a lot of capabilities. I mean, it's pretty fair in terms of capabilities. Their pricing is pretty good. You get free for a site that has only 5 pages. Now, personally, I don't have too many of those, but you could have such a site. And then the Pro is 6-month subscription for $49, and the Unlimited, the Pro Unlimited, is 12 months, $69. That starts to get pricey in my mind, but the nice thing about that is that they do unlimited domains. Now, SP Joomshaper doesn't have that type of license spread out that way. And then if you renew, you get 40% off. Unlimited website. So you have a website. He has 2 websites. He has 12 websites. He has 100 websites. You could use that one license on all those websites as long as you're the official maintainer or person. Hello, welcome. And then I ended up picking and using Joomshaper because, well, a couple of different reasons. It was one of the least expensive. Now, it has a different type of license. It's a per license price, but honestly, I have my customer pay for it. So then it doesn't affect me so much. If I want to, I can buy a unlimited website, full support 1 year, and they're very, very fast on support. That's one thing I loved about them. I actually found them a bug, which then I found the solution to the bug, and I sent it to them, and they're like, please, you can download the new version. It was like 6 minutes later. I was like, okay, thanks. That's really, it's not every time that it's like that, but they're on top of it. And the more you give them, like I even I had another bug I couldn't quite figure out where it was from, and I made them a quick little video with Camtastic, sent it to them, and they're like, oh yeah, we see the problem. And then the next day, by the time I woke up, they had sent me an update. So I'm not saying it's going to be like that every time, but
Now, are these for individual pages?
Right. You can do an entire site.
You're modifying the template. You're modifying.
You're not really modifying the template. I'll show it to you in a minute.
Okay.
The basic core is that you don't have to use a bunch of silly modules.
Right.
You just have a page, and you put all this stuff on the page.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So the reason I chose Page Builder, besides the pricing and I did like their demo actually, is the fact that even though it was only a 1.08 version, I was a little scared about that because that's pretty early in the development of a product. There were 41 different little add-ons, like those elements that I was talking about. There's 42 now, but whatever. 42 is already starting to get a pretty sizable number of things you can do with it, as well as you can. The one thing I was talking about is like if you have something that just doesn't fit and you just need to shove some PHP code that somebody else made, there's a widget or a page element for that. So you can put in raw code and it just does something. Like, so for example, if you have, like, one of my clients uses Setster, which is an appointment setting service, and they say, oh, just shove this code in somewhere, and you know, they tell you in a widget for WordPress or a module for Joomla, you can actually do that within this world. Okay, so anyways,
Multiple times?
oh yeah, I mean,
Basically.
yeah, you just keep on cloning it. And so it has open graph capability. If you know anything about that, that's becoming more and more important. That has to do with rich objects and social interaction. It has built-in templates so that you don't have to even create your own thing. You can literally choose, which I'll show you in a minute, one of the templates, and then, oh, well, it did all this wonderful thing. I just need to take this one out, this one out, this one out, and then I'm good. So, like, if you like one of their basic template pre-made things, you just change some text, take out the little sections that are done, and then it literally can reduce your build time to seconds or minutes. And like I will admit that they have awesome support. And the other thing is really cool if you pay for it and spend the $39, because there is a free version of Joomshaper. If you spend the $39, then you can do page export and import. So if you're working on multiple sites and you have a certain, say, a comparison table that a customer wants, because, you know, I don't know if you've seen the trend, but everybody's website is 3 columns. It's got a big thing at the top, you know, a hero image. It's got 3 columns. They're all laughing over here. And personally, I think it's asinine, but whatever. It is what the trend is at the moment. So you could actually build this once, export by pressing a little button. It basically gives you this sort of code that looks just like random numbers and letters. And then you can copy and paste it to TextEdit or Notepad on a PC, and then open up your other website, just install Joomshaper, and then import that gobbledygook of numbers, and then press save, and then it rebuilds the entire structure you've built on this site over on this one. So that to me is very much a huge time saver.
So it's a way you can actually copy and
Right.
previous sites
Yeah.
instead of using a backup or something like
Yeah, instead of using a backup.
Yeah.
Now, keeping in mind, though, that this only copies the page. It doesn't copy the entire site. It copies per page. But
that. Yeah,
still.
not content and stuff.
Yeah. No, it copies the content, too.
Ah.
Inside there. So I'll show it to
Okay.
you. And it's fully responsive, of course. I mean, what stuff today isn't supposed to be fully responsive? So this is how it works. So the first thing I need to do is log in. So how does this fit inside a template? Because I said earlier that this is compatible with all frameworks, all clubs that I've run across. And it does so the following way. So you probably are either using the built-in template, which is called Protostar, from Joomla 3.x, or you did what I do, which is I get my customer to buy a template or a club, and you pick a template. So, for example, here, this is a very silly website that I maintained for one of my old companies just for financial reasons, and so I chose the Joomshaper template called Startup, and it looks like just like any other Joomshaper, any other startup, you know, a template. Kind of really, really boring. Let me see if I can find their, where is it? Startup. Oh, I guess it's on page 2. I think I saw it. Yes, it is. Now here is the live demo of the standard little startup template that they have. 90% of these startups out here in San Francisco could use this template. and it's got the very important hero image at the top. The reason it looks so small, so big or small, is because we are connecting to the TV, and the TV has a weird resolution. Otherwise, it would be the text would be smaller. And then you have your 4 columns. Oh, they went with 4, not 3. Then you have your featured work with the 3 columns, and then 3 more columns. And then you get those really cool animations with CSS3. And then you've got 2 little zones of importance. And then those super logos that are super important of how important you are talking to having these great customers. And then you have your gigantic section at the bottom makes you look really important. No cynicism involved.
The model's what makes it.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, with the pipe.
How much of a hipster am I?
Yeah, exactly. So,
I just saw that guy on Bart.
Yeah.
so how does that fit in with this drag and drop system? So you install I installed the startup, the Shaper Startup Biz template, and layout. And so it has its own little drag and drop interface. It's made by the same people who make the drag and drop interface. So of course they're going to have their own built into this backend here. And so you have a header, you have a page title, you have a main body, you have a footer, and you have a bottom. And the world of Page Builder is inside the component area. So in other words, whatever the template's header is how the page is drawn out first. It draws the header, and if you have anything defined for the page title, then it draws that. And then after that, it's whatever Page Builder you set up inside a Page Builder. And then below that is the footer and or the bottoms if you defined in your standard Joomla those things. If you choose not to have anything published to footer, bottom, page title, or header, then you can theoretically live just inside of Page Builder. I personally like the flexibility of both, so I usually define my own header, I define my own footer, and then the rest I design inside of Page Builder.
So, if I understand it right, when I read there, it's like it acts as a component that's published in the main,
so it basically
in the main body.
Right. It basically It basically takes that, makes it wider, makes it taller, and whatever you design in Page Builder with drag and drop is what it displays. Yeah. So how does that look in real world? So 1 second, close that. So I go over to Page Builder. It becomes a big tab, as you can see here at the top. So it's, because it's going to be something you're going to use a lot. Oh, excuse me. That might be somebody from here. I'm here for the Joomla meetup, but I can't find anyone. They're upstairs on the 5th floor.
Okay. How'd they get in there?
Somebody was walking out at the same time. At least they found my number. Renee is coming up to you. Okay, so Page Builder, like I was saying, as very simple little thing. Oh, the documentation I should point out is also really good. Mm-hmm. That's always nice.
Documentation, I'm sorry.
Of Page Builder is actually really good. So the software, whether you buy it or not, the documentation is pretty thorough. Even though you can use the system and do almost nothing in it, it can get quite detailed if you really play with it. So you can add a new page right away from this button, or you can just, wrong one, or you can go to your page area and see the list of pages. So on this site, I created 3 pages inside of Page Builder: Home, Software, and Contact Us. And just for this demo here, I also created a fake page, or like a bogus page, called Meetup number 1 at the bottom. So I'm going to show you Meetup number 1. And at the moment, if I refresh the screen, hello. Meetup number 1, as you can see, is kind of empty. It has the header, which is the header I told you I defined personally, and the footer. But in between, there's diddly squat, because inside here, there is literally nothing. So I have 2 choices here. I can do it, quote unquote, using a sample, like when you install Joomla for the first time, it says, do you want to use a sample, install sample data, or do you want to just do it on your own? Or they call them quick starts, and some of these clubs do it that way too. Or you can go here and load a template. So just for this part of the demo, I'll load a template. So I'm going to do a homepage demo. So then it takes a few seconds, it decompresses some data, and it will fill it in. And all I have to do, this is quite important, you have to press the save button. I will say that because you start building and adding these little modules here and there, and you forget to press the save button, and then you go somewhere else. Then you go to check your home page, and your home page hasn't changed because you wiped out all your data. So I wish it would have autosave after 10 seconds. That would make life so much easier. So here, it just got transformed from nothing to all of that, which, you know, has a video playing in the background, it has all different zones, you know, it has some things that come out eventually with
Wait, what did you add to the thing?
all I did was load a template. It did all of this for me.
Oh, it sets it up for you.
Yeah, that template did all the manual work.
Empty space.
So, I mean, you have like a template home inside another template, which is the Joomshaper
Right.
start.
So they give you
Okay.
they give you a way to get started without having to do it manually. So the other option is 1 second. I could just say, I don't want a template. I don't want to have to delete a lot of stuff. I just want to start from scratch. Some people like Renee are probably more of that mentality, right? They don't like to install sample data. So I actually do, and she doesn't. It's funny. And so yeah, everybody's got a different way of looking at it. So in this case, I'm starting with a blank, canvas, as I can show you. Blank is blank. And so I'm going to add a row. So now I have 2 rows. Well, actually, technically, I'll delete this one. I have a row. And I say that I want to have 3 columns. So I go here, and you can see, one. I don't know if you can see that. Can you read that? Yeah. One column goes all the way across. 2 goes half. 3, 4. Well, this one is 2 columns, but the first column's 1/3. The next one's 3/4. 1/4, 3/4. 1/4, 1/4, 1/2, 1/4, and any combination. Any of the common denominations. But if you don't like those, you can also go to custom, and then a box comes up, and you can do whatever you want. Only thing is 12. Whatever you add all this stuff to, it has to add up to 12. It won't work otherwise. So I could go 3, 2, 2, 1, 4. That doesn't sound like 12, but let me see. 5. That's 14, right? 5. And 5 is 10. No, I said that looks like 12. So now I do that, and I've got this mess. The reason that this is overlapping is because 1 is just too tiny, but minor. I can also go and change it and say, I don't like that. The only thing I wish it would do is remember that in the series of numbers I just gave it. It doesn't do that. I've asked them to do that for a future release, but they haven't done that yet. So let's just do 3, 2, 2, 2, 3. Is that right? 5, 5, 12, yeah. So that's my perfect layout, quote unquote. And so here I'm going to add an add-on. So my add-ons is that, remember I told you there are 42? Technically there's actually more, because here's the reason you get a few more. If you use a Joomshaper template as your base, they custom make little add-ons for Joomshaper. So you get extra ones. Like some templates have 4 or 5, some have 2, whatever. So let's look at what those add-ons are. So you have a standard Joomla module. So let's just say that you have a very specific Joomla module you've been using over and over and over and you like it. You can just plop in that Joomla module. So you don't have to use their widgets or their little modules. You can have an accordion, a contact form, an alert, an animated number, an article, or articles, an audio file, which is HTML5, compatible player, a block number, which is an eye-catching way of displaying like a little bit of information, a block quote, a button group, a call to action, kind of important these days for e-commerce, e-like, or corporate websites, a carousel, which is just images with a carousel. Carousel Pro is just a better version of the carousel. Clients is just a way to show off, the people you deal with. A divider, which is just a horizontal line with some variations. Drop cap, empty space, and so on and so forth. There's a lot of them. Facebook like box. I don't know anyone who still uses that, but it's there. Feature box, Flickr gallery, Google Maps, Google Plus buttons, icon using Font Awesome's like 500 icons that you can use. So you can make a big, for those very important 3-column things, you can have an icon, and below it, you can have some text or a picture. An image with many options, an image content. So the image content I use a lot, it's an image and then some text that is nicely aligned. A modal pop-up for video, image, content, whatever. A person, that's usually when you're doing your team, you know, the CEO, the CTO, the CIO, the CFO. You know, you can have 4 of them across, and then you have your four dialog boxes below them. Pie progress chart, if you happen to have something that is pie explainable. Pricing table, I mean, you know, any SaaS service out there, you're going to have your 3-tier, typically 3, could be 4, but usually typically 3-column pricing table. Progress bars. This is when, remember what we talked about raw HTML? I mentioned that. That's that box right there. Just insert raw HTML code into that area. SoundCloud, single track or entire album, even though they still can't spell album correctly. It's album. Tabs. So you can have a whole bunch of tabs for your layout. Testimonials, Testimonial Pro, which looks a little different. Text block, Twitter feed, Twitter share, video from Vimeo or YouTube. They don't support much of anything else at this point. A contact list. Now this one here, any of the ones with this weird looking sort of triangular icon are the extra ones that came with my template. Latest posts from a blog and then a slideshow. So let's just say we wanted to, I don't know, do something. We wanted to have, where is my image content? Yeah, that one. So we can, now in most of their blocks, their little widgets, they have an admin label. That's just for you. That's, nobody sees it on the front end. It's just for your own sort of like, you know, when you're looking at a whole column and a whole bunch of rows and you're like, okay, wait, what is that thing? You can name it something. So picture with text. Then you can select an image. Of course, I don't have any because I blank site. So I'm going to upload an image. If I can find something passable. Oh yes, I know what I want. I want that. That's near my house. Yeah, it's a huge image and I should have resized it before then, but I didn't, so it'll have to do. I can insert the image, and then I can choose things like left position or right position, at least for this particular area. Then I can have a title that is visible on the front end. It says here, leave blank if no title is required. And I'm gonna say, rose bushes, if I could remember how to spell. And then you can change the heading. You know, as you know, you should have like H1 tags on your page, you should have H2 tags and so on and so forth. So they give you the control of picking what is this heading going to be. So I'm just going to pick H2. You can choose the title font size. So let's say for a title, I'll pick, I don't know, what sounds good, 18. I can choose the weight. I can say bold or bolder or whatever. I can even use numbers. So if I, you know, some fonts, they like to see 600 for bold or extra bold. I can choose a color of the text. So I don't know, let's pick roses or red. Yeah, that's it. And then I can put little margins below and above the title. So in this case, I'm going to say 20. Now, one thing to note, the gray 10 doesn't mean they actually are giving you 10 as a default. It's just giving you an idea of what you can do. So if you don't put anything, it's 0 actually. And then you can actually put some content. This is a beautiful, yeah, okay, I can't type today.
Pretty.
Yeah, that might have been easier. Beautiful rose bush found at the Getty's house on Green Street. $15 million, actually 22 now. $22 million house. And they have 4 palm trees they brought over by helicopter from LA because, well, they could. It's insane. And then the text for your button, if you wanted it to have, if you don't want a button, you can just leave it blank as it says. I mean, almost everything is very well annotated. You just have to read. You know, if you don't want a button, you don't do one. But in this case, I'll say roses. And then I can link that to Joomla.org. And then the button size. Do you want it standard, large, extra small? Let's say
Bootstrap?
small. I'm sorry.
Bootstrap? Is that where it's picking up the?
Yes. Yeah. Default type of button. So I guess there are some predefined primary default success info warning danger link. I'm gonna pick success. I have no idea what that's gonna do, but it's okay. I can even have an icon for my button.
Green.
What?
Makes the
Make
button green.
green.
Green. Okay, great.
Default is blue. Warning is red.
Okay, awesome. So what I like about the button icons is that you actually see the buttons. Like a lot of these are like they give you the name.
Yeah.
They either give you the name or they give you the other thing, the picture only. I like that you see both here. So we're gonna do something. Let's pick anything. Dribble. That looks good. Full button width. Nah, we don't want the thing to take up the entire screen. And where do we want the clicking to go? Either same window or new window. I usually choose new window. And then if you want to go crazy, meaning more customizability than this, you can then type in a class here and go roses are red. I'm just making this shit up. And then later, when you want to have fun, you can then use that class to affect that area with CSS. So I hit save. And obviously, this is going to take full width because I don't have anything else defined in these other areas here. But you can see that the reason it took forever is because my image is 2 megabytes and it shouldn't be. And where is my text? Did I miss out on something? I thought I had put some text.
You did.
Okay, well, it could simply be because I have nothing over here. So I'm just going to add some random stuff. Button.
So it's putting in the blank columns.
I think it is in this case, yeah. Which makes sense because I defined them, just didn't put anything in them. Actually, I don't want to put button. I'm going to put something more interesting. Come on. Okay, that's good enough. It actually filled it in for me. That's great. I'm not going to change anything else. I'm just going to say save. Then I'm going to do this. Come on. Call to action to grab people's attention. Where is it? Buy my stuff. Now, exactly. That's exactly what I was typing. Damn it. Or else I know where you live. Button. I don't need a button. I'm just going to take out the button, which makes no sense for a call to action, but that's okay. That's the whole point. You can do whatever you want. CTA button. And then we'll go here. Come on. Progress bar. I don't know what I'm doing in progress of. Okay, so progress 50%. I can choose anything I want, 66. It doesn't support 66.6, unfortunately. I ran into that for another purpose, and it would have been useful, but doesn't do it. You can do striped. You can do active. Press save. We can do, come on, pie chart. Where's pie chart? Pie progress chart. And we'll do, yeah, that looks good. I'm just going to use defaults. It's faster. And then don't forget to save because otherwise you've wasted your time. And obviously, some of the text areas are a little too big, so you have to adjust. Now, when it comes to this, as it looks currently, it doesn't look very nice. But part of it is because we didn't do any work to make it look nice. So for each row, you can control things like you can put a title to the row, but you can also control the padding. You can control the background color. You can have a background image. You can choose to have a video enabled in the background of this area, of this row. You can mess with the padding. So let's just say I do 20, 30, 20, 30, 5, 5, 5, 5. Press apply, press save. Okay, that's odd. Nothing happened, even though I did do it right. So it's, oh yeah, it helps when you do PX. I think you have to have, I think that's what happens. I think you have to, And if it doesn't work, it's because there's one tiny glitch I found in their software, which I've pointed out to them. Some of these sections, if you don't have a title that are important, it doesn't register anything. Aha, see, it did do it this time. It's because I made the mistake. In the example, it said 20 pixel, 20 pixel, 20 pixel, 20, and I just forgot the PX. So in this case, it put on the actual entire row whatever I told it, which is 20, 30, 30, 20. So it's already starting to look a little bit almost human. You still see the drop cap. Obviously, there's way too much text, so it looks like crap. But, realistically, nobody's going to do a 5-column thing anyways. And so, you present that to your customer. The customer says, what the hell is this crap? And you say, yeah, you don't like it. I understand. So let me just get rid of this column. And so I can drag and drop all the ones across, right? So now I have 4 columns. If I were to save it like this, it will automatically put the 2 together. It still leaves room for the 4th one because I left it that way. And it just puts one on top of the other. And then I can say, you know what? I don't want this drop cap. It's ridiculous amount of text. I also don't want the 5th column anymore. So now I'm going to do it. Actually, there was one for 4 columns. My fault. There's one right there. And I press apply. And depending on my internet connection, it's already starting to look a little bit better. And, you can play from there.
So you got rid of one of your modules.
Yes.
When you did that.
Yeah, no, I did.
Which one does it pick? Always the last one?
Always the last one. That's why I manually moved them first. What I did before I dragged the last one over, and then I readjusted it, knowing that it always drops the one to the right, which kind of makes sense. We read, at least in the West, in the US, we read from left to right, not from right to left.
So there's no delete for the column as such.
There's no delete for the column. There is only delete. Rearranging. Rearrange. And then you can add a second row here. So you can actually have columns inside of rows. So for example, if I wanted to, let's say I want to rearrange. This is 4 columns, but I want one column to be way wider. So let's say 2, 2, 2, 2, and so that gives me 8. So that means I put 4 here, right? Oops, no, that's wrong. Let's try 3 and 3 is 6, and 6 is 12. Right, so now I have what I supposedly want. And now I can even have 3-sum inside here. Again, it gets a little crazy when you go that far deep, but you can do it. So I could put let's see, what kind of, a button, or is it an icon? What do they call those things? Icon, yeah. I can put one of my crazy beautiful icons. Where is that icon choosing thing? There it is. I'm gonna do arrow down. I'm gonna do icon. Come on. Icon. Oops. Arrow left. And then I'm gonna do icon. Come on. Arrow up, just to make. And I press save. And there's my 3 icons. Now, of course, I didn't do any padding or any of that stuff I'm supposed to do, so they're kind of shoved on top of each other, but I can go there and do that. I can go to row settings, and I can say, oh, wait a minute, that didn't look good, so let me put in some padding at the top. 20 pixels, no, 30 pixels. 0, 0, 0. For 0, you don't actually have to type in the PX, thank God. And there we go, if that's what I wanted to achieve. For me, what I found to be really practical is the fact that if I decide to move something, I can do that.
Sorry, I got you.
If I, the ability to move something over from one column to the next or one row to the next is super practical. And then as we start having more rows, so if I add another row below it, so now I have a row and I decide, you know what, I want the progress bar here. And then now I save it. It was kind of simple to do. I just did that. Now, let's just say you're working on something, and this is really great for A/B testing with a client. Obviously, after you actually made it look good. But let's just say you quote unquote have 2 different designs, or even in one design, one page, you have 2 concepts. So what you can do is you can literally disable. I actually asked for this feature and they actually put it in. It took them about 2 weeks, but they put this in. You can actually press the disable button temporarily and save, and now that's gone. So you could kind of build yourself a master one and then just turn off the ones you don't want. And it doesn't generate the code. This is not a CSS situation where it's hiding the code and you have all that code that's loading. It doesn't generate it. So your site is actually really lean that way, right? Because a lot of these techniques that a lot of these other systems use is like they hide the stuff. The problem is Google can still read it just because it's hidden. And that's not really great. And also from a loading standpoint, it's not good. On that note, if you look at this, this is a 2.76 meg page because my stupid image here is 2 megs.
Oh, okay.
So it's really not even, it's about 600K by the time that all plays out. Not that there's much on this particular
So when you hit
page.
save, it generates the code,
Right. Yeah.
and the code has
It
everything
is-
stripped out.
Right, whatever sections you've hidden by disabling them. So I find that also efficient from a optimization standpoint versus going in with CSS and like display none, display none, display none, because display none just hides it from the view but not from the loading part. What else is cool that you can do?
What does this do?
You can duplicate a row. So let's just say this is your ideal row. You love this row, but you want it somewhere else, or you want it on another page. You can simply duplicate the entire row. And by the way, you want to move the row down? You can move the row down and bring this back. And so now you have a cloned row. And then you realize, oh, shoot, that wasn't the right one. I needed to, not the pie progress chart. It's supposed to be the pie over here and the icon over there. And you're done. So, you have a question?
We have questions.
I'm sure.
Whenever you're.
I mean, at this point, I've honestly shown you like 90% of what you can do in terms of the basics.
So
Let's
how-
take a break for just a second. Hang on.
You have to go around, and you'll see the kitchen on the left, and then past the kitchen.
Okay.
It's like
go ahead. Is this responsive? What does it do responsive?
What does it do responsively?
it handles all of that good stuff.
So it moves the stuff down.
Right. So depending on what depending on what your initial overall arching template does, it will follow that as a guideline. So in this case, up to about iPad, I guess this is. This is about iPad width. It does basically just shrinks them. And then if you go to iPad mode, then it puts them vertical.
And I would guess because you can add CSS classes to all these little individual sections, if you didn't want something to show up on a phone and it
Absolutely.
does, you just add hidden phone to the class.
Absolutely.
And it just won't show.
Yep. Absolutely. That's
Snaking columns.
snaking columns. Yeah. Okay, so you were saying you had questions.
Yeah, well, Hardy had a question first.
Okay, so one of my questions was, does this come as like static content generation for caching? So it serves up a separate cache content as opposed to runtime generation from PHP?
No, it doesn't. That I know of, it doesn't create an HTML static page. No. You would have to.
Do a varnish layer.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of people are starting to do that nowadays. But no, it doesn't do that I know of. No, it doesn't do that.
My question was, how well does this work with other components? Like, if I want to put a component that's also does like, maybe I have a form widget component and that builds out forms.
Right.
Is there a
So
way to
as long,
integrate that into this
well,
page?
let me show you. It has limitations like every system in the world, right? You cannot put a component inside here. A Joomla component, I haven't found a way. There may be a way.
You could put a component inside a module and then load a module.
Right, but you get a
And
real.
that gets weird.
That can be weird depending on
weird.
what do they call it? There's a specific name as to why that gets weird because of the Chrome of there's a technical term called Chrome. Depending on the Chrome of that setup, you can end up getting like really garbly. But you can, it does support. I'll show you. We'll replace this icon. We'll delete this button. Actually, probably not a good idea because it's a really narrow area. So I'll just delete this one instead and put it here. add-on Joomla modules. I don't know if I have any defined, to be honest. So if you have a Joomla, either module or module position, but I don't know what I have. I don't have anything here except search or breadcrumbs. So okay, I'll pick search. I don't know what it looks like. I haven't CSS'd it. Yeah, but you could CSS into whatever you want. And you put back my icon, otherwise we'll lost the column here.
So if I have another component that also has modules that you can place
Right.
things inside
As
the
long as it's a
module.
standard Joomla module.
I see. Okay.
Now, also, there's that thing I told you about, which is raw HTML. So if you have some little JavaScript crap from like Google Analytics or some other, thing that you would put on the front end, it can import it that way as well. So let me save that. And there's my search box. It doesn't have any CSS to, it's just a standard boring, it's based on the template. This is what the search box is for this template, this generic startup biz template. But yeah, you can see it did it, no problem. I've tried some pretty funky modules for other sites that I've built. And so I'll show you one site that I built entirely in this system. I built a bunch of them, but here's one. This was not my design, to be honest with you. This was the customer, a really nice lady that I know. And across the street, she has a graphics designer, and her graphics designer is a woman that's being beat up by her husband and is trying to divorce her, but she needs money. So to be nice, she said, hey, I need a new website because my old website's really old. And so, can you make me something? So she made this. She's a translator. So she made her these banners. And so if you read Danish, it's...
Yeah, I do.
You do? Yeah, it's very funny. It means literally beard caught in a mailbox, meaning that what it actually means is to feel helpless. And so every one of these tabs has a different image or a different little joke or whatever. And it's just to show the point that if you're literally translating, you're going to have horrible meanings. But as you can see from even the CSS, even the little graphic CSS3 effects, of the text
Those
coming
all
down.
come from the component.
Yeah, from the Joom Shaper thing, the page builder. And so the services, you've got here my 3 columns. I had to follow the 3 column rule, and then this little what do you call that? It's a what is it called? Transition. It's a 3-dimensional transition. This is the tab feature that they offered. And I did what she doesn't do, which is I used a pre-made layout, and then I customized it to my needs. And then this is the CTA component with a little button here for CTA, call to action. The more complicated page is this one, I think. Yeah, this one's a little bit more complicated because there's this right here, which flashes, is actually a HTML. No, actually, it's a Flash. It's a Flash uploader. And the way it is what she does is she does translation. So she needed an encrypted way that was closed loop. What that means is the customer uploads from the website. On the back end of the website is the email server, and she is sent a message to go into her encrypted email to go get this document, because it's some of the stuff that she does is for governments or whatever, and so it has to be all within, not public internet, basically. But this section is, basically this is this is 2/3, this is 1/3, 2/3, and then they have a built-in little form that they offer for contact. This is just straight HTML that I had from an old site, to be honest with you. I just copied that into the raw HTML component widget. And then this was just a text block module. And then this one is the special uploader. And then here's the row-wide, what do you call it, CTA. So if you look at it from inside of the system on that site, yes, I know I'm not supposed to have it at administrator, but I run my own web hosting company. I've never had a problem. I'm sure that it will happen one day, but no, but I mean, literally, I have a special script that runs on the hosting platform that if somebody is trying to attack that folder, it automatically redirects them into and drops them. So in my case, I don't have to worry about it. But yeah, it's practical. Well, it's the same thing with WordPress. You know, when for WordPress, the WP-admin page gets attacked a lot too. So for that page, we were on contact, right? Contact. So the contact page, if it wants to load sometime this century.
Do you let your customers in this, or is this just for you?
Both.
Okay.
I would say about a third of my customers are intelligent enough. Are wanting to actually make their own changes, and it actually is so far I've converted 2 customers who were thinking WordPress and then went to this, not Joomla because Joomla is still a little too tough, but this is so much easier that it's actually gotten me sales, which is why I wanted to present it to you guys because A, it cuts down on your freaking time. 2, I'm one of those idiots that believes in Joomla over WordPress because it seems that I'm the idiot because the rest of the world believes in WordPress. Even though I can't tell you, every time I've shown Joomla, not even this version, like regular Joomla, every time I've shown Joomla versus WordPress to a customer, they've always migrated to Joomla. I think it's more like the web developers migrate to WordPress, but when it's an actual customer who has to have an employee update stuff, they always seem to migrate to Joomla because it makes more sense. Like with WordPress, it's like, wait, is it a post? Is it an article? Is it a page? Widgets? Where is that? Like they just get lost. And there's one really famous guy in the city who is a like public speaker and psychologist or whatever. He has a website. It's in WordPress, and my ex-girlfriend actually is his right-hand man, and she's like, hey, I'll make you dinner if you come and help me fix some things that I can't get to work in WordPress. So we had dinner, we fixed a few things, and then she says, can we just add e-commerce? Okay.
Yeah, I'll hit that button for you. Now you have an e-commerce site.
She's a wonderful girl, but she's a social worker. She's not a web developer. And so she says, yeah, so he wants to start selling some books and some audio tapes and da-da-da-da-da. I'm like, uh-huh. Okay. Right, and I'm like, and so, and then on top of that, it got more complicated because he wanted to do subscription and for content. And I'm like, okay, so I have a solution for you. It can totally be done. I know exactly in my head how to do it, but I'm rebuilding the website, which didn't look that amazing in the first place. And she's like, what do you mean? She's like, well, let me show you how we could do it. And I literally went in here and I showed her like drag and drop and da-da-da-da. And I said, WordPress, I would have to charge you twice as much money to get the same job done as if I start from scratch with a new Joomla website. And so I actually had an interview with the, financial director or whatever, the person that makes the decision. And I showed her this system and she's like, I even understand it. So it literally makes you have deals. I mean, at least it does for me. So I'm sure it can be for everybody else. So this page looks like. So you've got 2 columns, one which is defined as like larger than the other. And then in here, this is the add-on. This is one of those special add-ons for the heading. Then you have an empty space. Oh, I forgot to mention, this is really cool. So if you want to kind of create a natural sort of buffer of space, they have this little widget called empty space, and you can go in there and just say, I want 40 pixels or I want 20. So you don't have to mess with the actual padding of the row or the component. You can just do it in a more elastic way because then it becomes more responsive, which is kind of nice. And then text block, which is in this case the one I was telling you about where I just put in that old stuff that I had from a previous site to receive a quote, blah, blah, blah. Click on here. The contact form, the Joomla module is for that special thing I was telling you about, which is the secure file uploader. It's a guy who makes this. It's a really good little secure file uploader. And then at the bottom is an entire row wide of call to action. And that's it. I mean, it's as simple as that. And literally this site, it took me a total of, this site has how many pages? The home page, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, plus 6, 7. So here the sitemap I didn't do in Page Builder. I did it in what's the replacement to XMap? The one that took over the development of XMap.
I use JSitemap, so.
Oh, you use a JSitemap. OSMap. OSMap took
OSMap,
over.
that's
yeah.
right.
So I just put a link off the menu. Wrong one. I put a link off the menu for OSMap, and then a frequently asked questions. I don't even know what page I did that in Page Builder. So, and you can see that particular template came with extra ones that I just turned off. I just didn't even bother. I took their sample pages, I modified them. The services page was their services template laid out the way they want it, and I just swapped out content, took out sections. Actually, some of them I think you can see I still hid some content. Yeah, here's one. So this is how it came out from them with all this extra stuff. And I was like, we don't need it right now, so I'm just going to hide it. And then I press save. And I literally built this site in, I mean, it's not the greatest site. It only has 6 or 7 pages, but I think I built it in like 5 hours, 6 hours. And that's a lot of savings of time, at least for me. And I honestly, if I look at the code for this, there's very little extra CSS that isn't built in. Let me see here. Where is that? That is called in Danish, into Danish. Whoops. I use Tixon as the base template. I more than I remembered. Oh yeah, because okay. There's a little bit of CSS, which is this right here, which is the way that template works out. I wanted to replace their header with those special images, so I had to end and make them background images. So because of some thing I was working on, so I actually had to add all of this extra CSS. But there's very little, and then the animation, which I couldn't add inside of Page Builder. I wanted to have certain cute animations, just because the one that I wanted to add specifically is for the secure file uploader, so people really saw it on the contact page. I made it flash, just for extra attention grabbing. It's not so in your face, but it still gets your attention. Because she tells them, oh, just go to my website, go to the contact us page, and look in the middle for the uploading thing. And most people, that's still too much information. If they don't have that extra little thing, they don't see it. So, I mean, if you look at that, that's half the page of extra CSS right there. And then these special banner situations. So there's really, that's all the rest of it is like, 12 lines of CSS, and that's it. And of course, this is not the most complicated website. I get it, but I wish I could say that all my sites were 12 lines of CSS.
You take questions?
Yeah, sure.
Okay,
Whatever.
so I'm trying to understand how this works compared to like the old style of a menu item that goes to an article or a blog.
Right, so the menu item is still there.
Category blog, whatever.
Right.
Okay.
The menu item still is there for your menu. So if you go to the menu, you still have your standard home, but the component you pull up is Page Builder.
Okay.
And then you say, I want a page. That's the only option there. And then in the next line, it says which page. Now, of course, you have to create it first in Page Builder.
Okay.
And so if I click on home, sometime this century, so the component is Page Builder.
Okay.
They only have one option, so you can't really mess that up. And then you pick whatever page you want. In this case, there's whatever pages I've created.
Okay. And then in that Page Builder page, there's no such thing as main content then. It's this page is this thing you created just now, and
right.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Okay. Now it makes sense to me.
Yeah. So it basically fits inside of the component, as you were saying.
Okay. Can I ask more?
Sure.
Is there a place to put iframe in there or HTML5?
Yes. So you can. Let me go wrong place. There. Close. 1 second. There's a widget, or they don't call them widget, but element or something. Let me find that. Which does that? It's the add-on. They call them add-ons. Sorry. I'll get it straight. It hasn't loaded the entire page, so that's not a good idea. Okay, let's first load come on. There we go. So there, raw HTML5 is right there, or like I said, the module. Now, going back to what Renee said about like loading a plugin, what is that called? Load module? Or load position and load module.
Yeah.
You can do it. I've done it once, but I've done it for pretty simple little ones, not for complicated ones. So you can kind of, and there is somebody who it's a third-party component that allows you to load a component through a plugin code with some.
Doesn't probably work very well.
No, it works pretty well. It's again the whole Chrome limitation.
You have to make sure you set the Chrome right, and you have to make sure you didn't load a bunch of other crap on the page that might possibly conflict if they use the same
Right.
variable. in
The biggest
JavaScript
issue
or
with
some
these,
CSS.
the
Yeah,
biggest
what
issue
they
with
use
that
the
is
same
jQuery
for-
conflicts.
Yeah.
My experience is when you try to load a component inside of a zone, the component is going to come with all of its jQuery,
stuff.
JavaScript,
Yeah.
and so then you have to sit there and go, okay, oh wait, I'm already loading that 3 times. That's not good. And then you have to go and manually turn off jQuery. Most components and authors are good enough these days to say, do you want to load another copy of jQuery? Unfortunately, not everybody does that. It would be so much nicer. It should be a requirement, actually. If you're raking a component, you have a parameter for turning off jQuery. It should just be built in as a rule.
No, or Joomla should.
I'm saying, but from Joomla, I'm saying Joomla should do that.
Well, or Joomla should have a way of like determining which one is the best jQuery one to install.
You can't.
Install
That's
one.
an impossible task, because
Well,
that's
yeah,
way too
for
complicated.
Coding compatibility.
Right. That.
But
Yeah. What were you saying? Yeah, you said something about
I
WordPress.
said something
What is,
snarky.
what is
Yeah.
WordPress do?
You enqueue it, so like if it already exists, it doesn't reload it.
Yeah.
Right, but that still doesn't solve the issue that we're
Loading
saying
is
about
different
compatibility.
versions.
Yeah.
have problems.
It'll load
Yeah.
1.8 and 1.7 and 1.6 because this
Right.
component calls for 1.5 and this component calls for
Right.
1.6.
But-
No, they preload jQuery, so you use if you enqueue it using the preloaded one, you're always using a standard one.
Right, but the standard one is
But it might
1.91.
break-
Yeah.
break the code.
It might
That's
break the
the
code
reason
from
why.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
If the author is up, constantly updating, then yes, you're fine. But if the author kind of fell behind, then
Yeah.
the worst is when you do that and you end up with a blank page and you're going like, there's no error message, debugging doesn't do anything, and you're just
Actually,
sitting
one of
there.
the first sites you went to, I can't even get it to load on my browser.
Which site?
It was at Zoom Z something or other.
Z?
Oh, Yeedeen. It just comes up like a big blank page on my.
Yeah.
browser.
Why EE editor?
The YEE editor. Yeah, it just comes up blank.
Really? Doesn't for me? There it is. It's slow, but it comes up.
and it dies on jQuery actually.
That might just be a server issue, like a hosting issue, but that's funny. That's really funny. Yeah, I mean, the only limitation I would say of this concept is that if you don't like the way the testimonial pages come out, so let me show you. They have a sample page of all of their add-ons. They have a little live demo. So you get if you don't pay for it, you don't have to. You can use it for free, but you only get the ones that are lit up, right? Of these little add-ons. So they give you like 12 or something like that. For $39, you get all of them, plus you get support. So personally, I do that. And so the only thing is, if you look at the video or look at the demo and you don't happen to like the way that a particular, like let's say testimonials, testimonials. So there's 2 modes. There's testimonials and testimonials pro. So if you don't happen to like the way that either of those look, yeah, then I'm sorry, but you either have to CSS a little bit or load a module that makes it look the way you like.
Well, and all your pages don't have to be page builder pages, right?
Correct.
You could just
Title,
do a different page.
Which is what I've done
change the color
a few
if you
times.
want to, and then this is where the testimony is.
Okay,
And
we'll
then the
skip
person's
ahead.
name, the client's name, and then their information, and you have their, the
That's what it looks
testimony
like.
there, and you have their name and the code.
And then this is what it looks like when you have a bunch of them.
So let's create. 3
Yeah, so they're
columns.
doing columns. Yeah, same thing that we were playing with. You can move them around, blah, blah, blah. And now now it looks like that.
But it's really good for you to.
So that's the
incorporate
testimonial
this
basic,
website.
and then if you want to see the pro, it looks a little bit fancier. We'll skip
And
it.
then choose your
Nope,
avatar
wrong.
style. Do you want a standard?
1 second. I gotta find where the demo is of the page.
Like, so it has
So
the
that's
name,
and there's a little
has the
slideshow at the bottom.
information here,
So that's a very
and it has
different
the website,
layout.
and you can just click an arrow. And this is this is a pretty cool way for you to to present your client version. All right, so right now you have this one here. This the different style.
Yeah, and some of these plugin add-ons, they have like styles, so you just literally have drop down and choose style 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Again, you're limited by how many styles they give you and how many components, but if you figure there's 42 little doohickeys like this, some of them have multiple styles, and then you can have X number of rows and X number of columns. It's like,
Gives you plenty to work with.
it really does. Plus I can load a module, plus I can load my own HTML5. Yes,
And you don't have to use this on every page. Right?
exactly, which is what I didn't do on the sitemap because I used the component. I wouldn't use this honestly for e-commerce. I use Hikashop. I could technically build, everything I need in Hikashop and then use just modules. But no, I mean, might as well just use the full capabilities of the platform, what it's designed for. It's just to me, I do a decent. In terms of the websites that I do for clients, I do a decent amount of corporate websites, portfolio websites. So for that, this is like a godsend. For e-commerce, like I did this site for a client before I really got deep into Joomshaper. I would not. I mean, I would consider doing this. Come on, load. Hello. Thank you. I would consider doing this in Joomshaper if I were rebuilding it today. But this whole section, which is the shop, which is built in Hikashop, I sure as hell would not rebuild this in Joomshaper. It doesn't make any sense. First of all, I couldn't do things like this, Oh, what the hell? It's not loading the code correctly.
It's not done.
Oh, it wasn't done loading? Okay, that's probably why. Yeah, that's still not right. Okay, well, great. I have one more thing for me to look at. But things like this you couldn't do inside of Page Builder. It could. I mean, technically, I'm sure you could, but it would be
more trouble than.
Yeah, it would be way more trouble. This is supposed to be full width,
yeah.
full height. What the hell? Was working fine yesterday. Gotta love that, right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, great. Well, at least it's good. Consistency is good. I mean, it's just one little thing I gotta find. I know what it is actually. I bet you. I just uploaded, upgraded to Hikashop 2.62, and I was on 2.5. So that's probably the change.
Does Hikashop have the 360 thing built into it?
No,
No.
this is a really good plugin actually. It's a really good plugin. Wait, I forget the name of it. It's a little finicky for setup. Like you have to follow its little rules. Where the hell's the? There it is. It's Web Rotate 360. Really nice setup. And they even have a service. So if you give them the images, like if you send them they'll take the images for you and whatever. They have a full service, but I don't use it for that, obviously. And if you want to pay extra, you can get the powered by Web Rotate 360 to be gone. My customer did not want that, so it wasn't that expensive, but But yeah, this site I would probably rebuild About Us, Lifestyle, Contact with Page Builder, but I sure as hell wouldn't venture into rebuilding the e-commerce section in it. No way. What else have I built with this? Let me take a quick peek.
Tried, how does it work with translated content? So you have that whole page, and now you need that whole page. Edited.
I have not tried translation.
Okay.
I don't know, honestly.
Okay.
I just haven't tried. I have very few customers at the moment who are translating, which I wish, but not happening yet. Let's see. I'm trying to think of all these different sites, which ones I did. I did 3 or 4 sites like with this. Oh, Cochon Volant. Yes, of course. So if you happen to be in Sonoma County and you happen to like barbecue, I'm not a big barbecue person, but looking at that picture, I'm going like, yeah, I want that. And what you may not realize is that pink color over here, that's actually ginger, the true color of ginger, not the commercial stuff. And so it's pickled ginger, and it's amazing. Just looking at that, I'm going like, I want to eat this.
Where's that place?
It's right here. Cochon Volant is on,
Oh, it's in Sonoma. Oh, okay.
yeah,
Long way.
Sonoma.
There's no good barbecue in the city.
Yeah, we can have a snack break at some point.
You want to take a break now?
Oh, I'm not
We
saying
allowed
right
to
now. I just
stopping
wanted
point?
to know when it was going to
I was
happen.
just gonna hand down chips.
So yeah, this entire website was built in Page Builder. And this is kind of cool. I think this is cool. And I've set up my customer. Well, if it wants to load, it'll be even more cool. What is wrong with this internet connection today? So what is supposed to happen? There it is. So what is this? This is a PDF file. It's a built-in to your browser PDF viewer without requiring anything other than your HTML5 compatible viewer. And my customer is a very nice 65-year-old man. Translation: technology and him do not mix. Not saying that not every person is like that. My dad's 82 and he is very technologically advanced, but this guy isn't. And so what I did is, he's on a Mac, thankfully. I could do the same thing on a PC, but I installed a software on his Mac, which is a single red button. It's just something called like 1FTP or something like that. And whenever he wants to quote unquote update his menu himself, he drags the file name, which I told him the only rule is, the only rule is it must be named exactly the same as I've already named it. So I sent him an email with a post-it note.
Yeah. You must call it menu.pdf.
No, it's actually a bit more longer than that, but close enough. And so all he does is he generates his little PDF menu, which he actually doesn't even do that. He gets it from his graphics person. And he drags it onto the button and done. No, it's a piece of software you can download that does just this purpose. And yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah, there's a little set of plates back there I found in the nook. Tons of cups and
I love
spoons
ginger.
and things.
So anyways, and he updates his own menu just by doing this. And he's happy as a pig in shit. Pardon my language. Well, very appropriate, since his name of his place is Cochon Volant, which in French means flying pig. And his awning, and the other thing that's really cool is this is responsive. This is handled, well, eventually, when the page wants to load.
It takes the PDF and it converts it into a Canvas element?
Well, yes, okay. It's actually done by Google. Google does this.
Converts it to a
Yeah, there's a service. It's a completely not documented. Another one of the Google services that's not documented anywhere.
Right.
There's no documentation page for it other than this guy's component that says this is exactly how you do it. These are the parameters. These are the options. These are the features, and that's it. And then on his particular plugin page on his website, it says you have two ways of doing it. There's the Google way, and there's some other way.
Mm-hmm.
And then he says, well, but if you want it to also work on iPhone and iOS and Android and whatever, go with the Google way, because it actually does this same thing on phones. So this is kind of cool. And then for the catering, he wanted menus. I'm like, okay, that's up to you. And so there's, well, if the page wants to load, which it's not at the moment.
It's a little heavy computational wise, perhaps.
Well, it's not that big though. I mean, you're pulling in stuff from Google, right? So it's let's see how big it is.
Just like whatever they don't want to say.
Yeah, it's 3.92 megs, and it doesn't like something with Google. Like it goes out to Google and then bitches. Yeah. But anyway, so as you can see, this is his catering menu, which is nothing more than 4 of those. So to answer your earlier question, can you have more than one of these on the page? Yeah, there's 4 of them here. So 4 of those add-ons are exactly the same add-ons. 4 times. And then you can scroll inside. I mean, really, there's almost no scrolling, but, so it's very practical. And then we put a gallery in there and a contact us, and a contact us with a live map built in from that Google Map thing. And actually, that's when we discovered that nobody had ever updated the location. So I had to be nice, I went to Google and I told him that the previous people that were at that location don't exist anymore, and then we set him up with his own.
So much fun. So much fun.
Oh yeah, that was a blast. Oh, and then another thing I just discovered recently, which most of you may already know. So you see this email address here? Now, if you put your cursor on it, in the bottom left-hand corner, you see, if you can see from that far, it says send email to info@cochonvolant.barbecue. But if you're a nasty little bot, this is what you see. So basically, you have no idea, you have no capability to figure out that email address.
And where is that happening? Why is that happening?
It's happening because of No Number. The guy who makes Advanced Module Manager has updated and kept on doing an email protector. It's way better than the Joomla cloaker, because the Joomla cloaker is notorious for having JavaScript problems. I mean, every other day. So this guy, No Number, who's a brilliant programmer, he updates a little plugin, which is free. This one is completely 100% free. And it's called Email Protector. And I now started using it on all my websites. Okay. If we don't have any more questions about Page Builder, then I can talk about the second half of,
Are we good? Let's take a break, bathroom break, see if we can find something to drink, eat a cookie.
if you want to capture this capability. So we have a portfolio, which is a public-facing video portfolio for my customers to see different things that we've done. The problem is we also have a demo reel. Now, if you know anything about video and demo reels, most demo reels are using some great soundtrack, and almost never are those soundtracks paid for. And in the world of in that world of like doing demo reels to show off your video, that's pretty common and accepted. It's in that gray area of, well, you don't really have to, but you can.
Well, it's not really fair use. We're not going to get in trouble probably.
Right. It's borderline fair use. It's very, very nebulous. And so since I'm co-owner of this company, and I sure as hell don't want to be paying any sort of fees or fines or copyright infringement, blah blah blah, I said to my business partner, who is one of those creatives, right? And so she's like, "Oh, it doesn't matter. Everybody does it." I'm like, "Yeah, everybody does it, sure, until you get slapped with a lawsuit like one of my clients actually did, for $9,000 for having used an image for 7 days, on a blog post she hadn't even realized."
So it's the Getty people.
Getty.
It wasn't Getty. It wasn't Getty.
That's amazing.
It wasn't Getty, actually. There's a search engine that you can pay to have. If you're a photographer, you can submit your images, and then their search engine looks for those images specifically. They basically code,
they basically create
tag.
a tag of it.
Right. And now they're branching out into video and music because it's a big business.
YouTube's already got it for music.
I'm sorry?
YouTube has it for music. I get staffed with it all the time.
Exactly.
To put up old footage.
And so, anyways,
Adobe Photoshop has always had that plugin that allows you to detect or encode your photos with a special encoding.
Yeah, but it's actually really easy to get around it.
They made it very complicated to use,
right?
So it never got any.
But it's really easy to get around that. If you know how those are built, you can just change very small sections of your image.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I'm more into cryptography and that kind of stuff.
Right.
I'm an ex-hacker, so like whenever some company says, pay up, our first thing is, how do we get around that? Right. I remember the days of DBase 4, which is a computer-based, PC-based database, and it came on diskettes, and there was a hidden boot sector stuff where that was how they did the licensing, and so I hacked it. So basically, I found a way to install it without even having a license. I mean, I originally had an official license, but then to be able to reinstall it. Anyway, so I created a hidden page called Private Reels, and I want to be able to give that URL to a client and just give them a password. I don't want him to log in and create an account. No, that's like, this is a corporate website for just portfolio stuff. They don't want to sit there and create an email, create an account, wait for that to receive an email, then click on the link, and then maybe it works and maybe it doesn't. Maybe it goes into spam. No, simple. I just want to type in, except do I remember the password? I just wanted, no, it's not that simple. I just want to type in the password. Oh, I did it right. And I want to be able to get to the content. And, in this case, it's just more, this is a drone video that we shot because we do that kind of stuff. And if you recognize the music, it's a very famous musician, Hans Zimmer. He makes great stuff. Do you know him?
Really looking to get sued.
Yes, it's exactly why I said I am sure as hell not putting that public.
Right.
Now, and we shot this mostly in Daly City 3 weeks ago.
So my comment with that is that site that you're on is not under HTTPS. So that password you just submitted is actually exposed
Yes,
to
I'm
the
aware.
underworld.
I'm aware.
And pretty much anybody can get in now.
Yeah, except you need to know the URL,
You need to know the URL.
and you need to be.
Right, and why would they? The people who are doing this would then have to find it, see that he's using audio he shouldn't use, get in touch with Hans Zimmer's people
Right.
reporting in the hopes of a reward.
It's a downward spiral, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm aware of that.
Okay.
But even if I did HTTPS, it wouldn't. Being an ex-hacker, I can tell you if I really wanted to get in, I still could find it. But the point is, it's a quick solution. Now, and this plugin that I found, I was looking for this. I went on JED and I searched every which way. I couldn't find it except one, which is a paid $39 solution, and I'm like, okay, do I really want to pay? No offense, but do I really want to pay $39 to do just this? And it's on the one page, and we're gonna maybe add another video on this. This is actually a really cool little thing. So like if I click on here, it's Ajax, meaning it doesn't reload the entire page, which I love. And you can reload the same module 10 times on the page, because if you look at this one here, the videography, we have it like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times on the page. And so it doesn't force you to reload the entire page.
How long does the password last?
That's the thing. We like this. Mm-hmm. It lasts until you blow out and reset your browser.
Okay.
It's not in a cookie.
Okay.
It's not in the cache. I don't exactly know where the frick it's stored, to be honest. All I know is the only way...
A flash bar.
No. All I know is the only way for me to... The only... And for us, for our purpose here, this is really useful, because we sure as hell don't want a customer who we give the password to go like, I forgot the password. No. Just go back to the URL. Because you've entered it once, you're back. The only way the only time that's not true is if I change the password. Because
so do you use one password per client, or is it just one?
Well, in this case,
for the page?
In this case, I'm using at the moment one password for the page.
Okay.
So I give the same password to multiple clients. If I wanted to,
I'm thinking for purpose of tracking.
Yeah.
Who's actually.
Right. I don't need that. We don't need that anyways.
Okay.
And luckily, my business partner didn't ask for that feature either, which is kind of convenient.
So tell us about how you found the plugin and
Right.
what you did.
So I just did a search for the plugin, and I typed in something crazy like articles, Joomla, password protect. Protect. And as you can see, there's a lot of things I looked for. And eventually, so the one that is paid for, that you can purchase, it's called JLEX Block. And it seems to be one of the only ones out there that is still currently maintained. And then I kept, eventually it led me to some article, I don't remember where. It might have been this one. That is the one. So somebody says, I have a Joomla 1.5 website and I want to be able to, sell. He's created a selling page for a program. He wants to protect the page with a password, blah, blah, blah. So I downloaded Content Password Plugin. That sounds.
Works for 1.5.
But it only works up to 2.5 actually.
Oh, okay.
And so it's Program Andy is the guy. And well, this is what it goes up to 1.73, I think is what.
His website.
Oh yeah, his website is slightly new. Oh yeah, so this version here, content password J 1.7 is the latest edition, which was done in 2011.
Right.
Great. He's German, doesn't speak much English, even better. He didn't, and I asked him. So I started writing to him in German because I speak it, and then I also wrote to him in English, and he admitted that wasn't his English. He had a friend put it in English.
Oh.
So anyways, I was like, are you going to upgrade this really cool thing or software into Joomla 3.x? And he's like, no. And however, it's GPL2. So, we were talking about earlier licensing. If it's GPL2, then I could literally, with permission, preferably, technically I don't even have to have permission, but I prefer to ask, I could take the code and, upgrade it to 3.5, do whatever I need to, and republish it as a new extension on Joomla JED. I haven't yet published it on JED because I'm still testing and tweaking a couple of things.
Why even republish it? Why not just give them back to him?
Because he says he doesn't want to. He's not wanting to support it anymore. And I asked him the email that I sent him was not even that. It was like I said I took your plugin and I hacked it and I got it to work with 3.5.
Right.
I don't worry, I'm not selling it. I'm not going to publish it or anything like that. And I'm just letting you know that I hacked it to make it work. And with the idea that I'll give it back to you to clean up, because I'm, like I said, not a good PHP programmer, so I probably fixed something and then broke the nuclear power plant next door. And so he said, no problem. It's published on the GPL2 and I'm not maintaining it anymore. So if you want to go on and, take it over, go to town. And so I'm like, okay. And so I got it to work with 3.5. It does have, the way he wrote it, it has one kind of flaw. And that is kind of like a roundabout way. If the site that I have it on does not have a search box. But if you have a site with a search box, and if you know what's behind the password wall, and you have a word that you remember from behind the password wall and that you use in the search box, you can find and get to the content that way.
Okay.
But that's like, your scenario.
Okay.
To me, it's so ridiculous that if you really need true security, then use Joomla's security. This is a different kind of use case, right? This is just when you, say you are a photographer and you are waiting to get payment from your client, but you want your client to see the pictures, at least thumbnails, right? This, to me, would be a great use of it. You put your images in an article, you password protect the page, you give them the password, they get to see a nice little page with all kinds of stuff. And, yes, you're I guess it's worth it to pay you $10,000. Okay, fine, here's a check. And then they can, you can do that over and over for different clients. So that's the kind of use I see for this. And then this officially only supports articles, but as you can see, I put a module because I use that load position in the thingy. So, and in terms of how it actually works, it's pretty simple in terms of the code. Now, I haven't mentioned it. It's this one here. So it's basically just tilde password, very tough, space pass for password equals, and then as you can see, my super special password, cool reels, double quotes, and then fancy bracket closed. And then to load a position, so anything that's after this code here, everything else will be hidden, right? However, there is another mode that I'm trying to fix, which is called password area. And that means that anything in between the opening password area space pass equals cool reels down to till fancy bracket / password fancy bracket will be protected and everything else is visible. But at the moment, I'm still tweaking that stuff. It's not quite working. But so it works in one mode and will soon work in 2 modes. And so I loaded a position called private reels, and which is that video player, and it does the job. So it's kind of cool. And some people, when it comes to by the way, going back to taking over development, one of my plugins, I only have 3 with this one, so it's not like I have a lot, but one of my plugins was somebody that they might be dead, I don't know, because I've tried reaching out. So they had a website, they had a contact form, the contact form wouldn't work. Oh, I remember what happened. Yeah, I actually did eventually get in contact with him because Mike, what's his first name? Teenan? He's part of the Brian Teenan.
Oh, Brian, yes.
Right, Brian Teenan, who's like one of the major people in Joomla. I had made a comment somewhere about the fact that I was looking to take over development of this plugin, but I contacted the website of the person who made it, and their contact form wasn't working. Then I sent him an email at every email address I could guess on the domain, and it came back like there's no such email address. Then I went to JED and I complained that this was a dead website because there was nothing there. Not complain, but let him know that there was a dead thing. But I would gladly contact the person. I mean, every which way I could find to try to contact this human being to let him know. I even found their Twitter, but they weren't answering on that. Like, I went to the other side of the world to try to make this happen. And eventually Brian saw this after I published it to JED, and Brian can be a little snarky, and he said, you should have contacted the author. Because, you're taking over development, that's not really cool. And I'm like, well, it's GPL2, so technically it's cool, but sure.
You should ask before you assume.
Right. But I did try.
Or you can tell.
You can try contacting.
But I did try, and I couldn't because there is no freaking email and there is no working contact form. Like, what am I supposed to do? Smoke signal the guy? I like Brian, but sometimes he gets a little whatever. And so, eventually, because Brian knew the guy contacted me on a completely different domain address and otherwise, and said, yeah, totally, I'm not doing anything with it. You can take over. But, yeah, sometimes it goes really, really smoothly, and then sometimes it's like, complicated.
Did anybody have any other questions?
No, I just say I have a similar thing with a module I'm working on, or component.
Oh, yeah? Was it the easy route or the tough route?
No, I will have contact with the guy, but you
good.
don't really get any
Help?
you don't get any help, obviously, and you don't get really, any good answers if he's interested or not. And the whole thing, it's GPS tracking related, and what's there is good for walking, bicycling, driving a car, etc. And I'm looking into sailing, focused purely on sailing. So I need to change units, and you don't really care a lot about altitude like you do on bicycling, maybe because you're normally at the same level the whole time unless you're crazy waves. But so stuff like that.
Wait, the ocean in the US is the same as the ocean in...
No, it's not. But you're really not interested in that if you do sail racing and you want to track
I know, I'm just messing.
a short race over a few hours. So, and he's not interested in that, but on the other hand, is like, you don't say, yeah, go ahead, or do whatever, or...
I mean...
Or, yeah, do the code and I will incorporate it and we build it so it's one module we can select what it's for. And,
The nice thing about the Joomla license is you can ask but you don't have to. You can
Right.
put it back up in the JED, but you
Yeah.
don't have to.
Yeah.
If you find a thing that sort of works for you but not quite, you hire somebody to make it work for you, and then it's yours.
Sure.
Yeah, and it is always nice if you give it back.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why I do it. I mean, that's
Right.
why I'm doing this. I'm going to take the time to, tweak it, comment it, whatever, and then republish it. Just because I figured, yeah, it's a limited use case scenario, but maybe there's other people out there who want to password protect a page without going through the whole rigmarole of like having the user sign on, create an account, and whatever. I mean, half of my customers' websites don't have account creation turned on, anyways. So.
And even if you had like
Take
an
away-
account creation
I'm sorry?
there, an intranet, it would still come. You could still have use cases for it if people were logged in.
Right.
With a variety of different kinds of access.
Right, like for a financial guy who, not everybody should have access to that page or that file, that document. They may be logged in already, but we want an extra layer.
Well, I could see how you could use that as a promotional thing, like,
Oh yeah, paywall.
Yeah.
in
Of
order
course.
to get somebody to, get the
Get one
password,
to the
you have
email.
to, get them to get on your mailing list or
Mhm.
something,
Right.
yeah.
That's how the other
That's a
one.
good
Automate
idea.
all that with
Add
MailChimp.
Add that as
Yeah.
as an extra to it.
Well, JLEX, the one that's like fancy schmancy for $39, that's how they promote it.
Yeah.
It's like, you want to hide something behind a paywall?
What did you use for the movie module thing you had a minute ago? What did you use for that, Ed?
1 second. It's really good. It works better with YouTube videos than Vimeo, but it supports both. 1 second here. SJ Video Box, and it's responsive as well.
SK?
SJ. It's only now surprisingly, it's only a 1.0 release.
I found a website the other day called Embed Responsively. And you give it anything, and it spits back out the script or the iframe or the whatever it is that you need that you can just dump into an HTML module, but it'll take anything.
That sounds
YouTube
good.
and Vimeo.
Pass it on. Yeah, this is a 1.0 release. It was done in last updated in 2015, so 6 months ago, 4 months ago. But for a 1.0 release, I have to say it was surprisingly good.
It looked good.
It does. It supports SEO for pre and post text. It supports caching to make your website load faster. It supports both YouTube and Vimeo. However, you have to follow very specific instruction when you're embedding. I'll show you an example here. When you're embedding, so you got the URL video, the video titles, the thumbnail, and then the thumbnail description. This is more for SEO, but this is the thing that you must use. If you use the standard YouTube URL, it will crash faster than you can say 1, 2, 3. But if you just remember that special little key thing, the token that they have for the video, and then just put /embed, then it will work just fine. Yeah, but my email protector is my latest discovery.
I like that.
It's very practical.
I can see a lot of potential uses for that. Okay.
Yeah, and of course it's him. What's his name? He constantly updates his shit.
Peter.
Yeah, Peter. Yeah,
The no
he's
number
good.
guy. I know, if you haven't heard my no number spiel.
Yeah, you need to
Buy
wake up.
Peter's stuff.
You guys use No Number, don't you? Advanced Module Manager. He has a lot. I mean, that's his most famous one, but
Yeah.
he has a lot of little things, and they're really, really well done.
So if you click on that link, you can send an email to that guy.
Yeah. But the bad little nasty bots that try to scan will get gobbledygook, and they'll be like,
They can
"Mo-"
send an email, but they can't.
Well, yeah, but robots can't. The way it's a command line software that like a Google Spider. When it's scanning your site, it only recognizes text and links and not much more. It doesn't understand videos. It doesn't understand image content itself. It understands the alt tags of your images, which you're supposed to have for all your images on your website if you're following SEO procedure. But it basically just doesn't see any colors. It just sees raw text and stuff like that. And so the bad people, they have the same type of engine, but they're just seeking email addresses. And this tricks them, which is cool. Unlike the one from Joomla, which seems to break every other release.
It breaks. I think
Every
they
other
don't have a
release or
solid
something.
Guy working on it.
What else can we talk about that's interesting? I don't know.
Well, let me stop this.